Hi, I am Zhang, Assistant Professor at the Broad College of Business, Michigan State University. In this video, I present my joint research with Ruthy and Cattani on how companies form an alliance to address a shared social responsibility issue. Thanks Zhang for inviting us to the session. Let's first look at an example of a social responsibility issue shared by many companies. Conflict minerals are extracted in the Democratic Republic of the Congo to finance armed conflict. They include tin, tungsten, tantalum, gold, and cobalt. Companies that use the five minerals have been under pressure from legislators, NGOs, and investors to avoid sources that perpetuate violence. Tracing the sources requires auditing the smelters that convert the ore into the metal. Countless companies use the minerals, while only a few hundred smelters worldwide process them. Each smelter serves numerous downstream buyers. A single buyer has little influence over a smelter's practice. In response, a group of manufacturers established the Responsible Minerals Initiative, or RMI, an industry alliance that administers joint audits. Today, the RMI is the most successful industry-led effort on conflict minerals. The key driver of the RMI is the Initial Audit Fund, or IAF, which pays for the first annual audit of a participating smelter. The IAF is funded entirely by corporate donations. Intel invited Apple, GE, HP, and Microsoft to establish the IAF as the initial donors. In subsequent years, more than 20 companies also donated to the IAF. Similar industry alliances exist for various social responsibility causes, including in the pharmaceutical industry, the fashion industry, and business education. In all examples, the members of the alliance collectively face a social responsibility issue. An alliance that pools resources is better equipped to address the problem. We want to understand how companies successfully form an alliance for a shared social responsibility project. Given the success of the Initial Audit Fund, we dive deeper to understand the factors that leads to a success. The IAF is in essence a public good. A donor to the IAF only benefits by using RMI certified smelters, but not directly by the act of donating. The RMI makes public the list of certified smelters. Any manufacturer, whether a member of the RMI or not, may source from the smelters. The non-exclusivity of the benefits makes the IAF a public good. Typically, economic agents free ride on a public good, leading to underprovision. In contrast, the IAF drives the success of the RMI. What makes a difference? Why do companies donate in spite of the incentive to free ride? We notice that the IAF's website lists all its donors. In particular, the 5 initial donors appear separately above the subsequent donors. Clearly, the 5 initial donors are some of the most valuable brands in the world. Many subsequent donors are not as well known. We summarize the observation into 3 focal features. The identities of the contributors are public. The list highlights the initial contributors above the subsequent contributors. The initial contributors are among those with the highest brand value. We implement the observations as follows. First, an invitation stage where a company can invite others to form an alliance to commit to contribute early. Second, heterogeneous brand values that may induce data-seeking behavior where companies want to be associated with other companies with prominent brands. We want to understand what factors are the key to a successful alliance and how the factors interact with each other. For the sake of time, I will skip the literature review. To our knowledge, we are the first to study a public goods gain in the context of socially responsible operations and to study the interaction between alliance formation and data seeking. So, how do we model this? At its core, our model is a public goods gain. We consider 4 companies, each with equal endowment W. a company makes a binary choice to contribute nothing or its entire endowment to the public good, the social responsibility project. Company I derives benefit B from every unit of the group contribution to the project. Hence, their profit is their endowment W minus their contribution C sub I plus B times the group contribution. We make the standard public goods game assumption that the benefit B is large enough so that when all companies contribute, every company is better off than when no company contributes. And B is less than 1 so that every company wants to free ride. On top of the standard public goods game with binary contributions, we add the element of heterogeneous brand value. We use S sub I to denote the brand value of company I, which can be either high or low. Among the 4 companies, we let 2 have high brand value and 2 have low brand value. Status seeking is when a low brand value company wants to be associated with high brand value companies by contributing alongside them. Let gamma be the extent of the concern for status. Company I's utility includes a profit and the utility from status, which is positive for a low brand value company contributing alongside high brand value companies. To study alliance formation, we consider a 2-stage game, an invitation stage followed by a contribution stage. In the invitation stage, an initiator is randomly selected. Let's say in this example, company 4 is selected. The initiator may invite any one company or no one. Let's say in this example, the initiator invites company 2. Then company 2, the invitee, will decide whether to accept or decline the invitation. If the initiator does not invite a company or the invitee declines, the game advances to the contribution stage without an alliance. Let's say in this example, company 2 accepts, so companies 2 and 4 form an alliance. The 2 companies are now committed to contribute. The game advances to the contribution stage. If an alliance has been formed, as is the case here, the alliance members must contribute to the project. Any remaining uncommitted companies can now decide whether to contribute or not. In the paper, we show that without the invitation stage or without heterogeneous brand value, in equilibrium, no company will contribute to the project. I next describe the equilibrium in the full model with both the invitation stage and heterogeneous brand value. We vary 2 variables, the marginal benefit B and the concern for status gamma. When B is greater than 1/2, any invitation will get accepted. When B is less than 1/2, a variety of equilibrium arises. In the red region, when both the benefit B and the concern for status gamma are high, an initiator with either high or low brand value may form an alliance by inviting a high brand value company. Then in the contribution stage, the remaining low brand value companies will also contribute. In the yellow region, when either B or gamma is lower, only a high brand value initiator will be able to form an alliance, inviting the other high brand value company. The uncommitted low brand value companies will contribute in the subsequent stage. In the gray region, the concern for status gamma is so low that neither type of initiator can successfully form an alliance. In the subsequent experiment, we will set the marginal benefit B to 0.4 in the region with the richest variety of equilibrium behavior. To test the predictions, we designed the following experiment. We use a 2x2 between subject design by varying whether the game has an invitation stage prior to the contribution stage and whether there is a heterogeneous brand value. In this talk, I refer to the 4 treatments as a baseline treatment with neither the invitation stage nor heterogeneous brand value, the invitation treatment with the invitation stage but without heterogeneous brand value, the status treatment with heterogeneous brand value but without the invitation stage, and the full treatment with both interventions. Each session has 10 rounds with random rematching between rounds. To induce heterogeneous brand value, We educate the subjects on the concept of brand value and how a real-world company may improve the value of its brand. Then the program randomly assigns each subject to either high or low brand value, fixed throughout the experiment. We show each high brand value subject a golden star at key stages to remind them of their high brand value. To emulate the IAF's list of donors, at the end of each round, the program presents a list of contributors to the group. The list puts the contributors committed in the invitation stage separate from and above the subsequent contributors. Recall our theoretical results that companies form an alliance and contribute only when there are both an invitation stage and heterogeneous brand value. Based on the results, we hypothesize that contributions are higher in the full treatment. In our model, if the concern for data is high enough, an initiator, whether having high or low brand value herself, will form an alliance with a high brand value company. We hypothesize that an initiator will form an alliance with a high brand value company more often. For the sake of time, I will skip the routine information about the experiment sessions. So, what do we find in the lab? We expect more contributions in the full treatment. Here is the average group contribution in each treatment. As predicted, the contribution in the full treatment is significantly higher than in the baseline and status treatments. Surprisingly, the contribution in the invitation treatment is as high as in the full treatment. We conclude that the invitation stage is a key driver of contribution. Surprisingly, the invitation stage can go at it alone when the companies are homogeneous. We will revisit the behavioral factors behind later. But before that, we want to know, when there are diverse brand values in the industry, do they matter? We next focus on the full treatment to explore how brand value plays a role. Depending on the concern for status, we generally expect to see an initiator invite a high brand value company to form an alliance. The lab results are consistent with the hypothesis. When the initiator has low brand value, the low-high type of alliance is predominant. When the initiator has high brand value, from the figure, we observe both high-low and high-high types of alliance. When the initiator has high brand value, she chooses from among 2 low brand value companies and only 1 high brand value company in the group. The initiator shows a preference for the high type if it forms an alliance with a high type more than half as likely as with a low type. Our data confirms the prediction. If we look under the hood, we see that both types of initiator invite a high brand value company more often than if they invite any company equally likely. Evidence of status-seeking behavior. We include further analysis in the paper. Next, let's look at the decision of uncommitted companies in the contribution stage. In the contribution stage, an uncommitted company has no monetary incentive to contribute. She will always take away more by not contributing. Yet, we observe significant contribution by uncommitted companies, represented by the red segment of the group contribution in the figure. The data show that uncommitted companies contribute significantly more when there is an alliance than when there isn't. Curiously, we find that any type of alliance, even a low-low type, is effective, and in fact, equally effective. While a low brand value uncommitted company contributes to be associated with a high brand value company, why does a high brand value uncommitted company contribute? In our paper, we present further results that show that high brand value uncommitted companies are driven by prosocial tendencies. They contribute to reciprocate the alliance. We find that forming an early alliance is key to the success of a shared social responsibility project. The alliance can then leverage status seeking by low brand value companies and prosocial tendencies of high brand value companies. While all initiating members of the IAF are prominent brands, our results suggest that a less well-known company may also start a successful alliance. Thank you for dropping in.